Hey, what's up, geeks and freaks? Welcome back to my channel. And as you can tell by the title, today we are doing another story time. Now, y'all seem to love my story times, and honestly, I like telling them, so why not? You already know we're gonna dive right in, no waiting, so let's get into the story. So this story is about my college roommates. So just to let you know, I went to college in late 2019. That's when I started college. After all my years in college, I had like 4 roommates, but not at the same time. I'm gonna talk about each one individually. When I first got to college, the first roommate I had, I actually don't even remember that girl's name because like she was barely there. Wait, Ashley, I do remember her name. It randomly just popped up in my head because before I was finna get ready to tell this story time, I was literally thinking, I'm like, what is this girl's name? We're gonna call her Kay. Kay was actually really sweet. She was very quiet, but like I said, she was barely there. She stayed in the same city as the college, so I never understood why she needed a dorm. Y'all can let me know if it's a reason for that. I have no idea, but I just never understood that. I pretty much had a dorm to myself, kind of. I couldn't really tell what she was. She looked like she was Persian, which is perfectly fine. Like I said, I don't look your race or nothing like that. But first room I had with her, I actually missed that room because that room had no windows. So it was just once the lights turned off, it was pitch black, and I was just in there like, yes, perfect sleep. Ain't really much to say about her because she was barely there, but like I said, she was very sweet. So after that semester ended, she actually ended up, I don't know if she left the college or what, but we never became roommates again, and I never really saw her again. So when the second semester came, I ended up being roommates with my cousin, which was actually pretty dope because I'm like, okay, I'm roommates with somebody that I know, somebody that I trust, so that we're gonna get along perfectly. So we were still in that same room, and when I tell y'all, like I said, it was dark because we didn't have no windows. We gave what it's supposed to give at night because I was knocked out. One night it was a storm and we didn't hear anything. When they said our room was like built on the outside, I didn't understand it. I'm sorry. They said our room was built on the outside. We didn't hear anything. The only thing we heard was the girls that lived upstairs, and we heard their footsteps. That was the only thing we heard. We didn't hear nothing else outside of that. I was roommates with my cousin for I think the second and the third semester, and then we ended up having to leave that room. They moved us to a room on the other side of the building. Now that room had windows, not a problem, but the view was like the parking lot, and I didn't like that because not everybody, but most people was hanging out in the parking lot. But that second room, it was pretty nice. It was just, I think it was just a little bit more spacious than the first room, but I still prefer the first room. My cousin was cool, yeah, so we ended up sharing that room together, but unfortunately she had to leave as well. So I'm like, okay, that's 2 roommates down. So I'm like, okay, who the next roommate gonna be? Oh my god. I remember I was sitting in my room doing my work, and next thing I know, I get a knock on the door, and I'm like, who's knocking on my door? So I look at the peephole, and it's the new girl. And then when I open the door, she's like, hi. We're gonna call her Kay. It's so many K's. We're gonna call her Kay. So she's like, hi, I'm your new roommate. She was tall, kinda. And then I was like, okay, this is your side of the room. By the way, at our door room, we had a wall that separated our space. So when you walk in, it's like her space, the wall that separated us, and then like my space, so we wasn't like looking at each other. Thank god. She moved in when I went back home over the weekend because I always went home on the weekend. So when I came back, her side was fully furnished. First night that we stayed, she actually bought us pizza. I'm like, okay, this girl, we're gonna be dope. I think she brought her friend into our room the first night, which wasn't a problem. That girl she wasn't crazy, but that girl, she was a head scratch. You know, when you look at somebody and you go, yeah, she was just one of those. Like I said, she was cool as hell, but that when I tell you, she would literally wake up in the morning, just roll out of bed, and she'll be like, okay, I'm going to class. I'm like, you're not gonna brush your teeth, you're not gonna take a shower, you're not gonna comb your hair or nothing, you're just gonna roll out of bed and go to class? I'm like, okay. Honestly, that girl Lil was just she was just there to party. She rarely did any work. I rarely saw her date any school work. She always leave the room like, I'm about to go hang out with some friends and stuff like that. I literally only heard her say, I'm going to class one time, and that was that. So I don't even know what she was majoring in, but like I said, I think she just came to college to like get away from parents and to party, which, hey, no judgment. I don't know. I think she has some things going on because sometimes she'll leave and come in the room late at night, and then one time she was like talking about something and she was like crying, laughing and stuff. I never had like a major issue with her. I do appreciate her cleaning up after herself, but we're gonna get into that roommate 1, roommate 2, roommate 3. I never really had an issue with any of those. And another thing with roommate 2, the only thing I found that a little suspicious, when she became roommates with me, oh, I don't know if I should say this. First of all, I'm not dirty, but I'm gonna just say it anyway. We had like a small roach problem, but when she left, it was no more roaches. So I'm not accusing nobody or nothing, but it's a little suspect. But they was mostly on her side, not my side. But I'm like, that's crazy how the roaches go away when you leave. But I always cleaned up my room, and that was that. Now we're gonna get into the next roommate, because this girl, when I tell you, this is probably the worst college roommate I've ever had of all 4 of them. I'm not even kidding. So I came back, I think we came back, it was during spring. So it was like, we came back for the spring semester. So after my 3rd roommate had left, Kay, she left. So the room's empty once again. I'm like, dang, how many roommates am I gonna have? I get another knock on the door when I come back, and then this girl, we're gonna call her O, but she had a nickname, but I don't really want to say her nickname because I feel like that's just gonna like kind of give it away if she come across this video, but I don't care. But we just gonna call her O. So I get a knock on the door. She had a mask on because this was like around COVID time too when I was in college. So she had a mask on, and she's like, hey, my name is da da da, and I'm like, hey, how are you? And she was just looking at her side of the room, just figuring out what she gonna put over there and stuff. And then I was showing her our bathroom and stuff. And by the way, everybody shared a bathroom. I had the best dorm in the college, like the best dorm building, because that building was the only building for the girls that like had a wall that separated you and your roommate, and y'all not like just staring dead in each other's faces, because it was 2 other dorms, but they didn't have a wall, so they just had to like look at each other. So she came, still in that same room, the other side of the building, the second room that I had to get moved to. And this girl, we started off cool, right? What really, I think what went downhill was she started leaving her stuff all over the room. I'm not even kidding when I tell you, when I would walk into the room and the first thing I see is like clothes that like trailed to her side. Oh my god, it was so annoying. I literally have a picture of it, and I think I'm gonna put it in here later on in the stories. I think that's the first downside. She started leaving her stuff everywhere. She left all her stuff on the counter bathroom. I literally couldn't even, I had nowhere to put my stuff. She had like eyeshadow palettes, skincare soaps, and all this on the counter. It was no, like the counter ain't even that big. It was like little square. This is just not gonna work out. I said I'm gonna be calm about it first, because like I said, I just met this girl. I don't want us to have no issues, because we have to like live together. I think the second thing that really started to tick me off, that she started bringing her boyfriend in the room. I didn't mind my roommates bringing somebody in the room, but when it comes to like boys, it just hit a little different. Only because I'm not saying all boys are like this, but you know, boys, they get curious. I'm gonna just say that. So she was sneaking her boyfriend in our room, and mind you, our college had a strict policy. Girls do not bring boys in the room. Boys do not bring girls in the room, or you will get fined. And I think the fine was like $1,500. You got me chopped. You think I'm gonna pay $1,500? So she was sneaking her boyfriend in our room. I was getting annoyed. So the first time she brought the boy in the room, they left, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not even gonna trip. Y'all left. Okay, cool. But the second time I came back to school from the weekends, he was like just chilling in her bed. And then I had to go to class, because that day I had 4 classes to go to. So that's 4 hours I was going, because each class was like an hour long. I just didn't feel comfortable. I don't know this man. Listen, I understand he's your boyfriend, but I don't know him. I just felt uncomfortable. So I was on the phone with my mom, and I'm like, Mom, my roommate, she got her boyfriend over in her room. What am I supposed to do and shit? My mom actually was like very pissed about that, because during that time, it was a story going around about a girl that brought a boy into their room, and then the boy ended up, you know, I'm not gonna say all that on this channel, but I think y'all get the idea of like what he did to her roommate. So I was on the phone with my mom. My mom was like, okay, just go to class, and if he's back, let me know. So I left, I went to class. So I was gone for like 4 hours. I come back, and he's still in the room. I'm like, okay. So not only are you gonna leave all your shit around in our room, but you're gonna start sneaking this boy in. I just don't feel comfortable with him in here. Not nothing personal, but just, I called my mom, like, Mom, this boy is still in here. 4 hours later, she's like, ain't no way in here, he's still in there. You know, my mom was just going off and stuff like that. It got to a point where I found out she was actually like dressing him up like a girl, sneaking him into our room. At this point, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Another weekend passed. I come back to school. I pulled up in the driveway, and she literally pulled up right beside me. She got out, and she looked like she was gonna turn around and tell me something, but she kept walking. I finally go to our room, and by the way, our room was close to like the building entrance, so 2 rooms before ours, I think. So when I walked into the room, she left that boy in the room by himself. If she wouldn't have pulled up in time and I would have walked in there, I would have been left alone with him. Absolutely not. I'm not, like, no. They up there laid up in her bed like it's a fucking BET movie or some shit. I'm like, I'm pissed off. I'm like, why would you don't do that. I just hate when you got those people that don't think about stuff. And I'm not saying he the type of person to like do some weird stuff, but you know how y'all, Basically what I did was, and by the way, I am not a snitch, but it got to a point where he was getting charged because she was leaving dishes in the sink and his dishes as well. So when I got to my room, I see like a freaking ticket for like $300 for leaving dishes in the sink. I said, oh hell no. So I'm about to go snitch. And by the way, I am not a snitch, but when it comes to me up here getting fined and charged and this and that, I don't know, we're not doing that. So I went and told the head resident that she was sneaking him in our room. I think I was snook upstairs and I went to my cousin's room because I didn't want to be in a room because I didn't want to make it obvious that I told, but you know. So I went upstairs to my cousin's dorm, so I stayed in there for like a few hours. The head resident told me that she was hiding him in the closet, so they got in trouble. But the crazy thing about it, she still did not stop, because literally, I don't know if it was the next morning, the next week, I can't really remember, but it was literally 6 o'clock in the freaking morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, and then I hear loud ass bang on the door, and I'm like, who the fuck is banging on the door at 6 o'clock in the morning? So I look through the peephole, and it's like these two big ass Godzilla looking fucking people. I looked through the peephole, and it's like a woman officer. She was short, but she was like buff for no reason. And then there was like a guy officer behind her, and he was tall. I see these two officers, and when I open the door, they shine this bright ass light in my face. So I'm literally answering the door like, how can I help you? She was like, yeah, I heard y'all was sneaking boys in here. I said, first of all, I didn't know y'all. Not trying to snitch, but you might want to go ask her. So they came into our room. She was like, I need to see your ID. I don't know why the fuck it took me 10 minutes to find my ID. I was letting my bus ass scrambling like this. And then she grabbed my ID, and then she had like a photo of like the camera of the building that was taking pictures of him entering our room. And she was like, this isn't you, is it? I said, absolutely not. First of all, I don't even know no boys at this dorm. The only boys that I knew that I went to college with was the boys that I went to high school with, and they stayed on the whole other side of campus, and we wasn't that cool for them to just be coming to my room. I mean, they was, but I wouldn't have them in my room. But I hung with them outside. So I was like, no, I didn't sneak no boy in here. You might want to ask her. And when I tell y'all, this girl up here, mind you, she's an early bird, by the way. She up here acting like she is just knocked out. I'm talking about like she's snoring so loud. I'm like, girl, I know you hear these dang officers in our room. And then they went, they woke her up. She woke up, she told them her nickname. She was like, y'all can call me this, but I'm gonna just say oh. And they was like, are you sneaking boys in this room? She tried to lie about it at first, but girl, they had it on camera. They had it on camera. And then she was just like, it wasn't it. I didn't. And then they was like, well, we got you on camera sneaking a boy in the room. But yeah, she got fined for that, and they shined the light in her face. It was kind of funny because I already knew she was gonna be in trouble. So the officers left our rooms. I ain't gonna lie, I was very pissed. I didn't know, calling my mom. I'm like, Mom, they got these police officers in our room. At first I'm thinking it's gonna be like a drug bust or something, because I know some colleges do that where they go in people's rooms and check to make sure they don't have drugs or nothing, but I didn't think like they were gonna come in and do that. So the crazy thing about it, okay, so she stopped. Oh no, let me backtrack. Before the officer thing, when I got to the room one time, I didn't even see this man in our room, y'all. Like, that is so dangerous. I didn't even see him in our room. So she had him tucked up under the covers, and when I walked in the room, she's like, oh, we about to fuck. I'm like, who about to fuck? And then I turned, and I just so happened to see him pop up out the covers. I'm like, oh, okay, you were talking to, yeah. I think y'all get it. And I'm like, get out, like, get out. So I think after that, after the boy situation, when I came back to the dorm, she was like, you didn't snitch on me, did you? I was like, no. I think she knew, but I was just like, no, I didn't snitch. And she was like, oh, well, it may have been them cheerleaders that was like sitting outside their room and stuff. And I was like, well, I don't know what to tell you. But so after the boy situation, this part we started to dislike each other. Well, me really disliking her, because after that she really just started doing the most annoying ass things. Like, when you come into our dorm, we have this big light that's like above the sink area, and then she have like her own light for her side, and then I got my light for my side. So if I turn my light on, it's just going to shine my side and not hers if she sleep, and vice versa. But late at night when she come into our room, she turned on the big ass light that shines the whole freaking room, and it was so fucking annoying. And then I'm a nice person. She didn't have a microwave. I let her borrow my microwave, and then when she used the microwave, she never closed the door back. One time I left for the weekend, she used my microwave, food spilling out of my microwave. I'm like, what the fuck? Everything she started started doing was just started to be so annoying. It was pissing me off. When I started to unplug my microwave and wrap it up, like wrap the cord around so she can't use it, she ended up getting her own microwave. But she was leaving plates in there, so our room was smelling. Like she left a whole seafood plate in our room. It was stinking so bad. I'm like, oh, Father Christ, please let me not spaz out on this girl. She was just leaving shit everywhere. It was hair all in the sink, dishes in the sink, just, oh, she just left everything everywhere. And I'm gonna insert a picture right here so y'all can see what I'm talking about. See how she got all these clothes and stuff like right here? That the first thing I see every time I walk in the room. I'm like, girl, you need to pick up your stuff. So what I did one day, I grabbed all the things that she left on the counter and I moved it to her side. And she comes in and she's like, did you move my stuff out the bathroom? And I was like, yeah. And then she was like, why? And I was like, because it's in the way and I have nowhere to put my stuff. And she's just gonna say, okay. So at that point, the tension is there between us. It's there. Another thing is, every time she left the room, like I said, once again with the big light, she just left the big ass light on. I'm trying to sleep. Why do you have to leave this big ass light on when you could just turn your side of the light on? Our college doors, they loud as fuck when you close them. I have enough respect. Like if she sleep, if I leave, I'll like kind of do it slowly. But when she leaves, she just open the door, just walk out. And then when the door closes, it's like that, like it's loud as hell. And one night that she kept leaving the room, I kid you not, she probably left the room like 10 times and just kept letting the door slam back and forth. And I'm like, I am about to crash the fuck out. That's why I ended up freaking snitching on her, because for one, you up here trying to get me fined for something that you're doing. I'm like, first of all, the first time we got fined was $300 because the head resident thought we left dishes in the sink. And I said, absolutely not. Those were her dishes. So she took my name off. The second time was the boy. And I said, absolutely not. That was her boyfriend that she kept sneaking in here. So she got fined again. So at this point, I'm like, I'm done being nice to you. I was pissed. And I honestly feel like, I don't know why, I just got a feeling like she been on my side of the room when I was gone. I don't know why. But I knew she was, because she was using my microwave, because like I said, up until she got her own. But when I saw food spilling out my microwave and she didn't clean it, I was like, oh yeah, absolutely not. Luckily, the semester was ending, so I took my microwave and I took it back home so she couldn't use it. So I already knew she was pissed about that. I was ready to get out that room. And I told the head resident, I don't know why they didn't kick her out. Prior to that room, she had another roommate and they said she was sneaking dogs in the room. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Who sneaking dogs in the room is crazy work. This is why I don't think I can do roommates ever again. I cannot stand somebody that don't clean up after themselves, especially for you to be a young lady. You need to clean up after yourself. I was just irritated. I was like, you know what, I'm just ready to go home. I think that was my last year in college too, before I graduated. So, and another thing I forgot to mention, she was one of those people that set her alarm off. And when I tell y'all, when I woke up and her alarm was going off and it just kept going off and off and off and she was asleep. This happened twice. One time she was asleep, I went on her side, I turned it off. And the other time she was in the shower, she left her phone on the bed and it just kept going off and I turned it off. So I'm like, I never understood how somebody could be so fucking annoying within a small span of time. That's why I was so glad. I'm like, you know what, this is my last year, let me stick it out. Finally got done, I went home. I was like, yes, no more roommate. But yeah, that's my insane college roommate story. Let me know if y'all enjoyed that story time. Y'all, I see y'all really love my story time, so I still have a hell more story time, but just let me know if y'all want to hear another one. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next video. Adios.